Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, those hats are absolutely gorgeous,
Yes.
and there is a reason for that. This lady, and it's a courtesy of my friend Meagan. So take away.
We are very honored and very pleased to be here today with Reverend Georgette Morgan Thomas, who is not only a reverend but a designer of these beautiful, beautiful hats. Reverend, you own a company called American Hats LLC.
That's correct.
You just acquired it a few years ago.
2 years.
And it has just, since you've gotten it, you've just transformed it into being a place that produces these wearable sculptures, because that's the only way I can describe them. Like the purple one is just phenomenal, and the pinkish one next to it, every single one of them is just amazing.
Thank you.
So you yourself love hats. Like
Absolutely.
You have this beautiful green hat on. So can you tell us a little bit about maybe when your first early obsession with hats began, and how that ended up with you having a hat company?
Absolutely. I grew up in Mobile, Alabama, real Southern Belle, and my grandmother, who was a member of the National Council of Negro Women. My grandfather was a sleeping car porter, a Pullman car porter. And so my grandmother wore a hat all the time. She wore a hat out to tend to her roses. Then when we went downtown shopping, she put on a different hat. And then on Sunday, she wore many other beautiful hats. And so I grew up understanding that hat was a part of your dress.
Yes.
And to be well dressed, you'd always have on a hat. As a little girl, though, girls didn't wear hats because that was a sign that they were being grown. So girls wore very big bows. So as a little girl, I wore ribbons in my hair, similar to what's on the hat. And but I grew up with that love of hats, which was embedded in me from my grandmother and all the women who were around me.
Reverend, may I ask you a
Yes.
question? I just filmed quite a few fashion shows. I've been working the Fashion Week. And one thing I notice in the photography pit, it's very competitive. All the photographers wants to take pictures. So some of the veteran photographers who really knows what to do and how to do, they either paint their hat in different colors, or those like me who work in the corporate world cannot do such a thing to their hair, they would wear hats. And the more dramatic looking hat, whether it's a guy or girl, the better. And the reason for that, when the models are walking and they know they can see your hat and they can look at you, because the one who gets the eyes, who gets the look, gets to sell the pictures, gets to get published.
Absolutely.
So that hat in the dark, because all the bright light goes on the model, she barely can see. It's she with all that bright light. And in photography pit, everybody together, so you see so many, and it really depends if she looks right or left in the center. We're because some of us are really all the way up in the riser, some of us really down. So whoever had the most amazing, unusual look gets the attention of those models, and those people succeed. Do you have any hats for the photographers?
Absolutely.
To be
We
noticed?
just did a fashion show in Virginia, in Norfolk, Virginia, and exactly that. One of the things that I said was, if you're on the runway, you want to, of course, have a stunning hat. Well, we have a hat that we make from custom ribbon. It's called a rainbow hat. So it is an 8-inch brim with a 8-inch crown that's bright yellow and fuchsia, and all the colors of the rainbow. And that hat garners so much attention. And so it's that kind of
It has
thing.
also a back slash, because some of the hats, if it's a big and it covers somewhere else in the back, they would knock it off. So it really has to not be tremendous, doesn't take too much
Well,
space, but the key is to be noticed.
Sure, and
in
the
darkness.
brim doesn't have to be out wide. We turn our rainbow hat brim goes up. So not only
I
that,
see.
you always want to see a woman's face. I tell all the women that come into our showroom, never pull the hat down over your eyes. You want to make sure the hat sits above your brows,
But it
so
makes
that
a
your
mystery.
beautiful eyes can be seen.
But
It's
doesn't it create
it's
a
mysterious if you bring the hat right down to your eyebrow level, and then you tip it to the side a little bit. then you get that
I see.
savvy,
And
mysterious
even
look.
some of the ones you have here, like this beautiful gold and white one, the brim on this is actually it's not really a wide brim, it's kind of a
Exactly.
short brim. So you still see the full hat, but you see the full woman's face.
Exactly.
And it's just, oh,
What
A
is the
hat
proper way
is
to
not-
transport the hat?
Hats should be transported in boxes. For instance, when I travel, I carry 1 or 2 hat boxes with me. The key to a hat is that the woman or man should wear the hat. The hat should never wear you. Unfortunately, so often I see individuals who wear hats where the hat is garnering the presence, and it really should be that the hat is a wonderful and beautiful accessory that enhances the woman's beauty or
But
the
it doesn't-
man's handsomeness.
Okay.
now when you created, like, you acquired the company. Now you called it
Yes.
American Hat LLC. But can you tell us a little bit about the process of acquiring the company
Absolutely.
and what it was like to turn it from, like, because when you initially got it, the company wasn't in great shape, and you transformed it into something that creates these beautiful creations. So what was that like?
When one of my close friends and member of my church came to me and told me that the factory was closing. Since I've known her, she had been designing for S&S hats. S&S hats started back in 1929. There was Stetson, Bowman, and S&S. Stetson and Bowman did hats for men, and S&S created beautiful hats for women. Unfortunately, once the owner of S&S retired, turned the company over to his nephew and his son. His nephew and son found that I guess they didn't agree on how to work and operate the company, so the nephew left and the son continued on. Evidently, he didn't have the passion for hats. But he continued the work. He had the knowledge, and so the company gradually declined. Also, the hat industry, individuals from the '60s had created a new culture. And so hats were not as prominent. African Americans were wearing afros, and so you didn't put a hat on top of an afro. I actually did not wear my hats during the '60s because I was busy sporting my afro. And then the culture of dress changed. We were less formal in our dress. So as a result, the business of selling hats declined also. Once I heard that the factory was closing, I said, oh, I'll buy it. And I was like, I'll buy it. I don't know anything about manufacturing hats, but the son of the original owner had agreed to continue on and to be responsible for the production of the hats. Unfortunately, because of a number of things, he decided not to do that, and he left us without any notice.
Oh, wow.
And so all of the staff that worked in the factory had been working there for over 20 years. Many of them had been there for 30 years. So that day I looked and I said, look, let's not panic. You all know so much more than you even know you know. We can do this. And so we began to work together. We now work as a team. The staff know
Do
the
you travel
business.
back and forth, or you?
Yes, I go back and forth from New York to Philadelphia on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, sometimes on Mondays.
Wow.
And
Oh, wow.
it's really not as difficult as people think, because many people commute from New York to Connecticut.
Do you drive?
I drive. Sometimes I take the Amtrak train. Sometimes, of course, I take the train. I love the train because my
How do you-
grandfather brought me up on the train. He was a Pullman porter, and I grew
Wow.
up riding the train, so I love it.
Such a classy lady.
Yeah.
How do you combine being a reverend and hat business? Do you think there is a correlation between those two?
Yes, it's a lot of fun, because I worked for over 35 years in mental health. And you had to always keep church and state separate. Though I always found a way, because the principles of psychiatry and social work say that you find a person's strength, and then you use that strength. So oftentimes one of my, my patients or my clients' strength would be their faith. And so I was able to use it in that way. But now in the factory, mostly all the women that call up are pastors' wives or pastors or deacons, so I can freely say, "Oh, I'll pray with you," or "Bless you." It's just different.
How do
It's
you
really
find
beautiful.
distribution for your line? It's a very specific market for this.
We are online. We're on Instagram and on Twitter, and we're on Facebook. And so as a result, we put our hats out constantly that way. But we also have, churches in the area, and so we market to the churches. We've also started marketing to the millennials and men. So we make hats for men now, and I should have brought a couple of those. We make some beautiful bowlers, and we make something called the Gambler, and it's a sharp men's hat. And so we really get the word out through social media a great deal. And then we mail out information about our factory, and we send out photos of our hats.
Do you do
to different stores.
educational on signaling? Because for the gentleman, when you wear a hat and you tip your hat, that's a signal of respect, and that's how you
Absolutely.
acknowledge a person. That's how you get someone attention.
Absolutely.
If the guy in the past wanted to have someone attention, he would
Tip his hat. Exactly.
And nowadays,
It's
if they
great
don't
to
have
hear you say that. They don't do men don't do that anymore.
If
Well, we're teaching.
I'm in fashion. I'm supposed
So
to know
you
things.
know, that's right. We are currently working with a local organization in Philadelphia that does just that. They train young men and women in terms of etiquette and things of that nature, that men should take their hats off when they enter in a building, that they should tip their hat out of respect for women. They're teaching young women also how to carry themselves.
I see.
Teaching and training is actually a big part of what you do.
Yes.
Like in your hat factory, she has whole training programs where young people can come in and learn how to make hats and make a
Exactly.
living doing this. And I think that that's fantastic. So what is the process? Like, how do young people get involved with your program?
They can go to our website. We're at www.americanhatsllc.com, and they can communicate with us in that way. They can call our factory at 267-345-1141 and speak directly to someone in that regard. We're also working with the Department of Commerce in Philadelphia now, so that we will be getting vets and second
wonderful.
chancers, those persons returning home that are young and don't have a lot of skills. The borough president, Gail Brewer, here in New York, is someone who is currently has been talking to me about what we might do here in New York also, in terms of possibly having a factory right here.
For my viewers, if you can help me to explain for the audience what are the benefits of wearing a hat, besides, let's say, it protects you from the sun. So if it's rain and there is something in the rain, it might protect your hair. What are other benefits so you can get noticed? Like younger folks don't know the real value behind what makes you distinct by wearing a hat and properly style.
A hat gives you a great degree of confidence. When I was young, I grew up, my grandmother very deliberately taught me to sit up straight and to walk straight. And so I had to walk around a room oftentimes with a book on my head. Well, wearing a hat is similar. When you put a hat on your head, you have a tendency to stand straight.
And it also makes you look taller.
It makes you look taller.
I'm short, so I understand that.
Yes, it causes you to stand up straight. It also is empowering. I remember when I was on the Today Show, Meagan Kelly leaned over to me and said, "I feel powerful." and Huda and Kathy Lee said to her, "Wow, you all of a sudden you have swag." A hat really does create a certain amount of confidence. It's empowering. When women in the suffragette movement started to march for their rights, the first thing they did was put on their hats. The same with the civil rights
I
movement.
should show you, I did a hat collection one time, but mine is more protection wise.
Okay.
And it's a bulletproof.
Bulletproof.
I come from the banking world, and
Okay.
some of the wealthy people
Yes.
are target
That's
for
true.
the assassination.
Absolutely.
And we would wear the vest under the
Under
jacket,
suit.
but a suit. But a lot of hits tend towards the hat, and
That's exactly right.
by having and usually the sniper would be on the taller building, and the shoot is going from
You
up
don't
to,
actually
Absolutely.
from
realize
up
that,
to
but hats
down.
can be protection. They can
Exactly.
save your life.
That
you
would
know,
be a
like-
very
So-
good thing.
Well, a helmet
So-
is kind of a hat. I mean, like you could make an
Well,
argument.
a
A
Hamlet
is a hard
is,
hat.
but
yeah.
if,
But
if
it's
you're
not
a
as
banker,
fashionable.
if
No,
you're an
it's not like this.
CEO
Yeah.
of a big corporation, you might look
not gonna
funny
wear
if you
a
wear
yeah,
a
exactly.
Hamlet
A helmet everywhere you go.
to work.
Right.
It's not an
And then-
army.
And then you signal to the sniper that you've protected your head, wherein if you
They
got
can
on a
look at
sharp,
neck,
Yeah.
neck
sharp
or
boulder, they
elsewhere.
never know.
So
Yes.
it looks a little bit more.
And just talking about like the look of hats, I mean, these are phenomenal. Like I don't even think, I mean, the cameras in YouTube space are top notch, but I don't think they're even doing them justice until you see them in real life. Like for example, this brown one you have here, it's not just brown, it's got this beautiful iridescent shimmer to it. You have this gorgeous little green velt one over here,
felt, wool
and
felt.
then you have like the blue one is felt. It's also adorable.
And the blue
And
one
the
is
purple and the
also
pink are shiny.
shaped similar to the English hats that you find Kate Middleton wearing. We actually designed that hat based on some of the hats that she's worn, as well as this one here. Our felt comes from Pennsylvania. We use only wool felt that we get from Denver, Pennsylvania.
And the colors are just phenomenal. Like
Brilliant.
the green is like actually lighter than it's showing up on camera. It's like this beautiful
yes.
Kelly. In real life, it's this beautiful Kelly green. I can't say enough about it. And then this black one here is so beautiful. I don't know whether it's shown on camera, but at the tips of each feather, there is a little rhinestone, which is just such a
I
classy
can see it
thing
on
to
camera.
do. Such a beautiful, classy. You know, it's a detail that was obviously put on with a lot
Absolutely.
of thought and a lot of love. Really, I mean, this is a labor of love.
Well, I wear a hat every day,
So beautiful.
and so when I go to a formal, I don't feel dressed if I don't have my hat on. And again, my confidence level goes up when my head is covered. So, in going to a formal, that's a piece that I would wear, something of that nature.
Yes.
A couple of years ago, I wore some guinea feathers that were gray and brown that made a big hit at one of our local fundraisers.
Well, your hats, I mean, obviously my two favorite, I love sparkly things. So I love the purple one and the pink one next to it. They're like my favorites. But your hats have gotten you a lot of attention. You've been on the
Yes.
Today Show. You've been interviewed by the New York Times. Actually, that's
Yes.
how I found out about you. I featured you in my column on Blasted
Yes.
News. And it was wonderful to speak to you because, you know, you have such a wonderful soul and such a generous, giving heart. Like you were telling me a story where when you were preaching, if somebody liked your hat after the service, you would give them the hat. You know,
Absolutely.
that's just
Yeah.
such a sweet thing. And now that you can use your creativity and use your position in this business to create these gorgeous hats, you have spread so much joy. I mean, this would be wonderful to do like a fashion show of her hats. Like that's just
And we
would
can
love
make
to.
them affordable. That's the
Yes,
other thing.
they're-
We make them
How-
more affordable now as well.
like how much would these cost? Just on average?
These hats, for instance, this hat would sell for $185 on our retail space now.
That's extremely reasonable.
It is because the stones are top quality Periosea stones.
People don't realize that this is.
Right.
It's
But-
not just a hat; it's a box,
Right.
and this box takes space, and it's
Exactly.
shipping is not as $2-3, so it's additional expense
And there's
to
also
transport that.
there's an artistry to them too. They're wearable sculptures. So,
Absolutely.
I mean,
it's
that's the
it's
only
a
way to
work of
describe
art.
them.
It's actually a work of
It's
art.
like buying a piece of art.
And we are able to have outlet prices because we make them. We don't have a middle person.
So
Now
that's-
we do sell to boutiques and stores throughout the country, so they oftentimes have to sell the hats a little bit more than we're able to sell in our outlet and our showroom. But again, I ask them to keep the hats closely in line with what we're selling. If they need to sell a little more, we understand that. But the idea is to get women back to wearing hats, and one of the ways to do that is to make them more affordable so that all women can wear a hat, not just those who have access income.
Yes. So, right now, about how many hats would you say that you have in your portfolio for the entire company, approximately?
Wow. We've got hundreds of hats because every time an idea, like this is a new idea, the almost brimless hat and the carrot ribbon. So that's
What's the age
something new.
demographic? Is that towards more geared to older generation or younger? Like, the way me as a designer look at these things, I'm very mathematical, so I have certain metrics that I measure. One of the metrics actually started by my wife. We started with the swimwear, so we have a couple of swimwear lines that have the highest probability of getting married for the brides, the models who wear it. Once we have that model wearing it's on the show, we have much higher. We have like one swimwear that we have almost every year. 2-3 girls get married who wear that swimwear. It's a funny correlation, and we have a similar correlation to other clothing. Whenever we do a fashion show, we do quite a few of those. We kind of realize that certain fabrics, certain things makes person pop, and once that person is distinct from the rest of the like there are 12-15 girls in a line, and one girl looks really distinct, and she does many shows. Obviously, it's not the only show as a model, but once and they have that kind of relation. I was wearing this when I met my guy, and now we're getting married, and I want that piece.
Like,
So
good luck.
It's a very sentimental
Sure.
But
correlation.
Even what you were saying earlier with like the fashion shows, because like I've been to many of Alexander Kerman's fashion shows, and there's a lot of photographers there, and it's very busy. But if a model is wearing something like these hats, these are sculptures. So basically, the photographers want to get a picture of everybody. You know, it's really, I think that this is something that really expands a model's career to try something like this.
I think
But one
a
of the
lot of people think of
things-
modeling like a trash, like a kind of sexy, like a like a sexual, low life kind of experience. And by not only like having a swimwear, like like showing a lot of skin, but having classy look, like a dress, like my wedding collection, or like a evening gown collection, by girls wearing hats, that might bring additional
It shows a dignity
upscale,
to it. It shows
dignity
that
to it.
fashion can be
So,
upscale and
so
lifting.
we
and-
can have quite different models modeling versus the public perception by the audience, the men, the women who come to see that show. It's a different clientele, like different viewership. People who would come to see a hat collection are quite different from people who would come and see swimwear collection.
Exactly.
Maybe for the swimwear collection, maybe we can get some perverts and crazy folks.
Yes.
No, now we do
For
some
the hats,
beautiful.
we might have some more
No,
noble
no,
and
no.
honorable folks.
We do some phenomenal straw hats. We were featured on NBC at the end of the summer for a quick blurb, and there were young women walking down Fifth Avenue wearing our straw hats. So with your swimsuits, they can wear our big floppy straw hats. They can wear our two-tone straw hats.
Summer's
hat for
coming.
every-
Let's
there's a hat for
get it
every
done.
Hat
occasion.
for every occasion. And you have different categories of ages. This hat is the hat that your young women, your millennial age women, your rappers, your Rihanna, your Beyonce will wear this hat.
Let me clarify what I'm trying to get. Maybe I didn't get to like waste my question.
Okay.
Most of the models on my show, the reason why they model, they love fashion, they love all those things, but primarily want to get married.
Oh, okay.
So they use the modeling as a stage, as the platform to find that husband
Okay.
who might be the proper fit for them. Otherwise, because at work they wear normal clothes and they not know this. On the runway, it's a completely different fashionable person.
Absolutely.
So by wearing swimwear or like sexy clothes, they attract a wrong kind of husband.
Oh, I see what you're
person.
saying.
But
Okay.
by wearing a hat like this, a noble, that may attract more serious type of individual, like someone who
Absolutely.
is has more noble
dignity.
and dignity and
And
intentions.
there is a nobility and a dignity to these. Like even the fun, sparkly ones, they still have like there's a regal quality to them almost.
Absolutely.
Like, and I think that it would be great to like see hats coming back more and more because they're just delightful. And you were actually saying that you're interested in also creating hats now for dolls and toys,
Yes,
and that's something else you're thinking about getting into.
We do make a hat that will fit the 16-inch doll, like the American Girl doll can wear our hats, and many of the other dolls can wear our hats. And we're looking to continue creating more and more hats for dolls. We're also diversifying in terms of the hats for younger women so that we can introduce them into, these are called traditional church hats. We are currently partnering with Princeton University from March 13th through the 1st of April. Will be a part of Crowns, which is a musical about a young woman who goes to visit her grandmother in the South and meets all of the hat queens. And so she learns about hats, and she learns about herself, and she learns values. And so really there's a hat for every woman and every occasion.
So, thank you so much for
You're
coming.
welcome. You're welcome.
This has just been fantastic. Thank you so much
You're
for coming, and
absolutely
we
welcome.
look forward
Thank
to
you for
working with